Hello and welcome to TaleTalk English. Today's story is emotional, dramatic, and full of difficult choices, painful memories, and the power of forgiveness. It will also help you improve your English listening and vocabulary through simple conversations and real-life situations. As you listen, try to imagine every scene, every expression, and every feeling. Now, let's begin. My name is Julia. I am 28 years old, and today people know me as a successful businesswoman. They see my nice office, my expensive clothes, and my confident smile. They think I have always lived an easy life, but they are wrong. My story began in a small town outside Chicago, where every day felt like a battle. When I was born, my father wanted a son. Instead, he got a daughter. From the first day of my life, I could feel that I was not welcome. He never carried me in his arms. He never smiled when he looked at me. Whenever someone visited our house, he spoke proudly about the son he wished he had instead of the daughter who stood quietly in the corner. As I grew older, I understood more than adults believed. I knew my father blamed my mother for everything. Many nights I lay awake while they argued. Plates crashed against the walls. Doors slammed so hard that the whole house shook. Sometimes my mother cried until morning. I covered my ears with my pillow, but I could still hear every word. One cold morning, my father packed a small bag. He looked at neither me nor my mother. Without saying goodbye, he walked out the front door. He never returned. After that day, life became much harder. My mother, Teresa, worked wherever she could. She cleaned offices before sunrise. She washed dishes in restaurants late into the night. Sometimes she worked 3 jobs in one day. I often went with her because there was nobody to watch me. While she scrubbed floors, I emptied trash cans or carried buckets of water. Some kind people smiled at us. Others acted as if we did not exist. At the end of the day, restaurant workers sometimes gave us bread that was 1 day old or soup that nobody else wanted. To us, it tasted wonderful. We lived in a tiny wooden house with broken windows. During winter, the wind entered through every crack. When it rained, water dripped from the ceiling into old pots that my mother placed around the room. I never complained. I knew she was trying her best. Every month, the landlord knocked loudly on our door. "Where is the rent?" he demanded. "Please," my mother whispered, "give me 1 more week." But he never smiled. His answer was always the same. "If you cannot pay, you must leave." I watched my mother become thinner every month. The bright smile she once had slowly disappeared. One evening, she held my hand while we sat in the dark because we could not afford electricity. "Julia," she said softly, "I love you." Those words made me happy. I did not know they would also frighten me. The next morning, she asked me to wear my cleanest dress. "We are going somewhere important," she said. I believed we were visiting relatives. Instead, we stopped in front of the biggest house I had ever seen. Tall gates surrounded a beautiful garden. A serious-looking man opened the door and invited us inside. Everything smelled expensive. The furniture shined. The floors looked like mirrors. An elderly man sat beside the fireplace. His name was Mr. Allen. He looked at me carefully but said very little. Then he placed a thick envelope on the table. My mother picked it up with shaking hands. She never counted the money. She simply held it tightly. My heart began beating faster. I looked from my mother to the old man. Something felt terribly wrong. "I don't understand," I whispered. My mother avoided my eyes. Mr. Allen stood up. "You will stay here," he said calmly. I grabbed my mother's arm. "Mama, I'm coming with you." She slowly pulled away. Tears filled my eyes. "Please don't leave me." For a moment, she almost hugged me. Then she closed her eyes. "You'll have a better life here." "No!" I held her dress with both hands. She gently removed my fingers. When she reached the door, she looked back only once. Then she walked away. I ran after her, but one of the house workers stopped me. I screamed until my voice disappeared. Outside, my mother never turned around. That was the day my childhood ended. The first months in Mr. Allen's house were lonely. I was not treated like family. I cleaned rooms, I polished shoes, I washed windows that were taller than I was. The other workers rarely spoke to me. Everyone feared Mr. Allen. He was known for being strict. If someone made a mistake, his voice became louder than thunder. I was afraid every single day. Still, I worked hard because I had nowhere else to go. Every night before sleeping, I thought about my mother. Did she miss me? Did she cry? Or had she forgotten me? Years passed. Slowly, I became older and stronger. One afternoon, I was helping organize books in Mr. Allen's private library. As I reached for a high shelf, my sleeve slipped down. A small star-shaped birthmark appeared on my left arm. Mr. Allen suddenly stood up. His face turned pale. He walked closer without saying a word. His hands trembled. "Where did you get that birthmark?" he asked quietly. "I was born with it," I answered. He stared at it for several long seconds. "My little daughter had the same mark." His voice almost disappeared. "We lost her many years ago." For the first time, I saw tears in his eyes. That day changed everything. He no longer shouted at me. Instead, he asked about my dreams. He wanted to know whether I liked reading. He asked if I wished to go to school. I answered yes before he even finished the question. The following month, I entered a classroom for the first time. I was older than many students, but I did not care. Learning felt like opening a window after living in darkness. Every new word gave me hope. Every book showed me a bigger world. Mr. Allen hired tutors to help me after school. He taught me about business. He explained how companies grow. He showed me that success comes from honesty, discipline, and kindness. "I cannot change your past," he often said, "but I can help you build your future." Those words stayed in my heart. Years passed quickly. By the age of 24, I worked beside him every day. He trusted me with important meetings. He asked for my opinions before making decisions. Employees respected me because I listened to them. I remembered what it felt like to be ignored. I never wanted anyone else to feel that way. One quiet evening, Mr. Allen invited me into his office. "I've been thinking," he said. "You've become the daughter life gave me." My eyes filled with tears. He smiled gently. "I have no children left to continue my work." He handed me a folder. Inside were documents naming me as the future leader of his company. I could hardly breathe. "I don't know what to say," I said. "You don't have to say anything," he replied. "Just promise me you'll always remember where you came from." "I promise," I replied. When he passed away 3 years later, I kept that promise. I became the company's new president. Some people doubted me because I was young. Others doubted me because I had once been a poor servant. But I refused to let fear control my life. I worked harder than anyone else. I treated every employee with respect. I increased salaries whenever the company earned more money. I created scholarships for children who could not afford school. Every winter, we delivered warm clothes and food to families in need. People often asked why I cared so much. They did not know I had once stood in those same food lines. One snowy evening, I was driving home after a long meeting. The streets of Chicago were crowded. Snow covered the sidewalks. As traffic slowed near a small park, I noticed an elderly woman sitting alone on a bench. She wore a thin coat that could not protect her from the cold. Her hands shook as she held an empty paper cup. Most people walked past without looking at her. Something inside me told me to stop. I stepped out of my car with a warm blanket and some food. When I handed them to her, she whispered, "Thank you." Her voice sounded strangely familiar. She lifted her head. For a moment, time stopped. Although her hair had turned gray and deep lines covered her face, I recognized her. It was my mother. She looked at me but did not know who I was. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "My eyes aren't very good anymore." I struggled to breathe. "Do you have any family?" I asked. She looked down. "I had a daughter once." "What happened?" I asked. "I made the biggest mistake of my life." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I believed giving her away would save her. Instead, I lost her forever." My own tears began to fall. I whispered, "You didn't lose her." She looked up slowly. "You gave her away?" Her eyes searched my face. Then they grew wider and wider. "Julia?" I nodded. She covered her mouth with both hands. "I'm so sorry." She cried harder than I had ever seen anyone cry. "I wanted to come back for you, but I was ashamed. Every year it became more difficult." I stood silently. The little girl inside me still remembered that painful goodbye, but the woman I had become understood something else. Holding hate for so many years had never made me happy. I helped her stand. "Come with me." She was surprised. "You still want to help me?" she said. "I can't change the past, but maybe we can change tomorrow." She hugged me tightly. For the first time in many years, I felt like I had a mother again. A week later, another surprise waited for me. My assistant entered my office. "There's an older man asking to see you." When I walked downstairs, I saw him immediately. Even though time had changed his face, I recognized him. My father. He looked weak. His shoulders were bent. His confident voice had disappeared. "I heard your story," he said. "I don't deserve forgiveness." He lowered his head. "I spent years believing money and pride were everything. I was wrong. I lost my family because of my own choices." Silence filled the room. I remembered every lonely birthday, every hungry night, every tear my mother had cried. Then I remembered Mr. Allen's favorite lesson. The strongest people are not those who never suffer. They are the ones who refuse to let suffering become hatred. I walked toward my father. Slowly, I offered him my hand. He looked at it in disbelief. "You can never change what happened," I said. "Neither can I. But if we keep living in the past, we will lose what little time we still have." He took my hand and began to cry. Months later, our family looked very different. We were not perfect. Some days were uncomfortable. Some conversations were painful. We often spoke about the mistakes that had changed our lives. But we also laughed together. We shared meals. We celebrated birthdays that we had missed for many years. Forgiveness did not erase our pain. It simply stopped pain from controlling our future. Today, whenever people ask me what success means, I do not talk about my company, my house, or my money. I tell them success is going to sleep with a peaceful heart. Success is choosing kindness when life teaches you anger. Success is believing that broken families can still find hope. My name is Julia. I was once the little girl nobody wanted. Today, I am living proof that your past does not decide your future. No matter how dark yesterday was, tomorrow can still be filled with light. And if there is one lesson my life has taught me, it is this: love does not always remove pain, but forgiveness can set your heart free. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. There may be someone out there who needs this message today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.